Hi, my name is Thomas Novickas and I am running for York Township Trustee. I moved to unincorporated DuPage several years ago. With my spouse, we have recently started a family. When we first moved in, one of the first memories that I have is laying in bed sleeping, and at about 2 o'clock in the morning, some kind of roar comes by, and I kind of wake up and look out the windows. We hadn't even put curtains up yet at this point, and going by is a mosquito spraying truck, fogging, and so I jumped up out of bed. The weather was beautiful, and I jumped out of bed to run and close all the windows that were open in the house so that we didn't get fogged ourselves. And shortly after that, I went and looked at the York Township website to see if maybe I could get like a heads up or some information about when the mosquito spraying was going to happen, so that that situation wouldn't happen again. And I couldn't find anything at all. It was a pretty lackluster website. It didn't have meeting minutes. Everywhere else I've lived has budgets and meeting minutes and all sorts of information online for citizens. And I kind of chalked it up to, well, maybe it's just not great, right? Fast forward a few years, and it's become abundantly clear that in order to have good government, politics as usual just doesn't work. And so I realized that I really needed to take an active role in trying to make that government good. When I consider what York Township government is charged with doing, it's scary when it's not a good government. We need to have effective leadership in that role in order to take care of our neighbors. And so that's why I'm running. So what is my vision for York Township? Our platform on our slate has a lot to do with transparency and accountability. And to be honest, some of these things are probably kind of low-hanging fruit in terms of ensuring that information is publicly available and that there's accountability in our government in terms of the contracts that are issued and all that kind of stuff. But ultimately, I think one of the important things is that many people who live in York Township don't know that York Township even exists or what it does. And I think that's a problem. And so my hope is that we can really affect some change in a positive way to where people not only know what the township is and does, but look at it and say, this is really great. This is a really important form of government. So the pandemic has had a really big impact on all of our lives. When I think about what we can be doing as a township right now to be helping with the pandemic, honestly, right now, today, what we need help with is signing people up for vaccines. We've all heard stories about folks that are having a hard time getting signed up for a vaccine, waking up at midnight or 3 o'clock in the morning and clicking refresh and having the information pre-filled out and all this kind of stuff. And we also know that there are people that may not be the most comfortable thing for them to do. Some of us are fortunate to have those abilities and some of us don't. And I think that the township can and should be helping with that. When we talk about budgeting, I think that there's a couple things to keep in mind. Generally speaking, transparency and accountability relate a lot to budgeting in government because we as citizens, as taxpayers, want to know that our money is going to good and fair contracts and that it's being used wisely. Secondly, budgeting is important to look at in terms of the long term, not just the short term. As we face climate change and flooding issues and all these sorts of things that have undue costs on our community, there are actions that York Township can take right now today that wouldn't raise any taxes but would have a positive impact on people's lives. As an example, switching to solar and renewable energy sources, reducing rainwater runoff, and encouraging others to do so will have a positive impact on everybody's finances in our community. As I consider what I'd like to leave with, there are two things that I'll mention. One is that I am really happy and honored to be a part of our slate. Melissa, Andrella, Martin, Kathy, Ilsa, myself, Beth have been working extraordinarily hard. We've come together organically, and I think that we really clicked and are set to do great things. And so I'm humbled and honored to be working with our slate. Secondly, municipal elections tend to have very low turnout, 10% at best. And so my second takeaway is that I would please ask that vote. Your vote basically counts 10 times as much as it does in a national election, and yet this election here is such a unique opportunity to have such a huge impact on where we live and on our neighbors and our community. So please vote. Thank you.